I did not have a lot of opinions about Drossel going into this, and I honestly think that that was probably a pretty normal reaction. He's just such a small side character, and small as in, like, sure, he plays the hell out of the 3 episodes he shows up in, but he doesn't worm his way into anything else. He has little to no lasting presence, and I was wrong. Drossel's existence and the implications of that existence say a lot of very weird things about the universe he's in. And here, I just want to get it all out there. People like to say that Black Butler's manga canon and Black Butler's anime canon are completely incompatible, that they exist on 2 separate realms, that the CL from the manga would have nothing to do with Claude Faustus, or Angela Blanc, or Pluto, or any of that shit. They want to spare him from it. But for as long as the Black Butler iconography is stapled to it, I believe it all functions under one continuous set of rules. If you murdered someone on Mars or Venus or the moon, God would still see it. So, Drossel. Let's get into his 3 episodes. Drossel technically died 5 years before the story was supposed to take place. That is a done deal. His soul has been recorded by the Reapers. Someone went down to collect it. They got it back. It's in the records. The tax notices have been filed. Why is there still a debt due? While the Reapers go through files and scramble to get a hold of someone before the IRS gets on them, London is having issues. See, little girls are randomly disappearing. And this has been going on for a few weeks now. Maybe even a few months. Scotland Yard is losing their mind. It's the Frost Festival, the first festival in decades. Lizzie is on this frantic hunt to try and find a gift for CL to make up for breaking his ring that one time. While CL has making a hobby out of terrorizing the police, and he really wants to figure out this new mission. He wants to find these girls. He wants to get on that, Queen's watchdog type stuff. And Aberline, being the idiot that he is, lets slip to CL some details about it. The cover story for why the police are investigating the girls is that they're actually just looking for a little lost jewelry. That piece of lost jewelry being the blue diamond known as the Hope piece. You can look it up, it's a real thing. And this Hope piece is the same gemstone that CL's ring is cut from. However, there's a second ring. And that ring, after some ice-related shenanigans, ends up sinking into the bottom of the Thames, where it mysteriously slips into Elizabeth's playset. An almost identical ring to the one that she shattered in front of CL. It's practically perfect. And so the episode ends with Drossel speaking to some unseen figure, his body contorting and folding like a wooden doll, as he says that he believes he should let the ring choose its own master. He knows it will come back to him, and he knows what he'll do when it does. Elizabeth tries to give the ring back to CL, but then she realizes Sebastian, fixed the ring himself, so she quickly snatches it up and runs off, and immediately ends up stuck in traffic with Paula. Her maid, by the way. Paula's her maid. And while they're waiting there, Elizabeth sinking into her own misery and terrible 13-year-old girl thoughts, the middle school age angst, she suddenly begins to hear this disjointed tune, a tune that was haunting her the previous episode. And so, almost possessed by it, she slips away from Paula and follows it down a brisk alleyway, where she finally reaches this tiny antique shop called Angel's Wing Antiques. And there she sees this sweetheart. More importantly, she also meets Drossel. He's sitting in the back. He's holding one of his creaking little music boxes. And as she looks around in this room full of lamps and toys and oddly lifelike dolls, he walks over to her, and he comes close, and he touches her face, and he looks into her eyes. And of course she rejects him at first. She's like, no, Ciel's the only man for me, no. But the thing is, his motivations have nothing to do with that. He's simply mesmerized by the bizarre sorrow in her eyes. And for some reason, Elizabeth trusts him. So she spills all of her secrets to him, and he listens in rapt attention, as silent as one of the dolls on the shelves. And so when she's done with her story and she's crying and all the sorrow in her is dripping out, he gives her an offer. She can take any wonderful toy from his shop as a gift for Ciel. But then, as he thinks to himself, he realizes that a mere doll isn't going to be enough. What Ciel would want would be perfection. The kind of perfection that never goes away, never ages, never changes, never cracks, never...
It's perfect. We'll give him you.
So Elizabeth goes missing, and Ciel and Sebastian go on a hunt to get her back. Ciel distracts Sebastian, he gets Pluto, he meets Grell, and together the three of them go through the same route that Lizzie did. Through a back entrance in the Angel Wing Antiques, they reach this old manor. And Grell reveals a very interesting piece of intel. See, Drossel apparently died 5 years ago. And since Ciel's turning 13, that would mean that whatever happened to him happened 2 years before Ciel's own parents died. Drossel's former master, as he was a puppeteer and a butler, his former master, the Duke of Mandalay, was taken to an insane asylum. Good God, Ash, what did you do? The main issue is that, Drossel is walking around, but his soul's already been collected. The Reaper IRS is already, demanding what the fuck happens. They have him. Why is he walking around? It's obviously some bizarre doll type shit. Ciel and Grell and Pluto, I suppose, as well, all walked on through into the old Mandalay mansion. And there they see that same girl that Lizzie saw in the window of Angel Wing Antiques. And the girl, she looks lifelike. Ciel thinks she is, but Grell doesn't seem to think so. Grell's getting a bit of a weird vibe, but Ciel, to her, she looks just perfectly human. So he approaches her, and she grabs him by the neck and chokes the life out of him. So, Grell fights the dolls. More dolls show up. Drossel shows up. He sort of taunts them a little bit. The dolls move in tune to the song My Fair Lady. Sebastian shows up and goes, "Oh, you're trying to get rid of me," and then makes himself a huge problem for the next 2 episodes. He breaks the heads open of all the little dolls, and they find out that they're actually just made of iron and steel and stuffing and straw dust, so I guess they're not girls anymore. Oh yeah, I didn't mention it before. The thing of the hope piece. Drossel was using the hope piece to lure away all the girls that went missing. So they'd find the ring, and then the ring would sort of lead them to him, kind of a My Precious situation. But they're all dead now, so I guess we can add another Black Butler arc that involves mass child sacrifice. Sebastian drags Ciel out of the building. Ciel's like, "No, we need to go back." And Sebastian's like, "Oh, no, your safety's my top priority." And then he gets slapped. And okay, so they go back in, but not the Mandalay Manor. No. There's a different tower. There's like a tower. Literally, just I don't know what the fuck the geography is in this place, but they go there. Grell, Sebastian, Ciel, Pluto. All right, they're in there. Great, they're in there. But Drossel's there, and oh no, he's done something to Elizabeth. Her face is as sheen and bright as a porcelain doll, and her movements are ball jointed. And it's been implied earlier that he made her into a doll. Like, the point of rescuing her, the time where they should have rescued her, has long passed. She is a doll now, and as we saw for the other dolls, she's never not going to be a doll. She was built up of iron and steel, gold and silver, sticks and stone, and that's not going to change. This perfection that she wanted to give Ciel, this assurance that she'd never go anywhere, has effectively robbed her of her life. But why is her weird little doll body still moving? She can still talk, can't she? Why? He puppets her. he puts a big pole staff in her hands, and she almost kills all of them, except for the fact that Grell and Sebastian can't die. And Sebastian obliterates Drossel in less than 3 seconds. And straw and termites spill out of his head. And everyone just sort of stares in horror. CL cradling Elizabeth's dead doll body makes some weak little promise to her. He looks actually really distraught, like genuinely. Season 1 is like psychological torture for him. We'll get into that at some point, but no, he's going through it. This is traumatizing. But somehow his words reach her, and the porcelain sheen disappears from her face, and blood rushes back to her cheeks, and she closes her eyes, and she seems peaceful. And Drossel staggers up to his feet, wanders past Sebastian and Grell, walks into another room, talking fervently to his master, and then keels over on the floor. Thank you for coming to my Drossel video! And so, there were other points that I definitely glossed over, but I think I'm gonna handle those in a slightly different format, so I keep things entertaining. I don't want your eyes glazing over. So let's have a little top 10 things you didn't know about Drossel. Number 1. Did you know that Drossel's name has been frequently misspelled from D-R-O-S-S? Number 2. Drossel is actually named after the, fun godfather from the Nutcracker. Yeah, the Nutcracker. Godfather Drosselmeyer is kind of the catalyst of the entire story of the Nutcracker. I'm not going to go over the story of the Nutcracker or anything, but he's basically the uncle that gives the main character all of these fun toys that come to life and sort of Toy Story her into a nightmarish world of rats and candy. Typical, fairy tale kid stuff from that era. Third thing on the Drossel list, Drossel shares a very close similarity in appearance-wise to Joker from, Black Butler. You see, the difference is, Drossel has the haunted doll aesthetic, and Joker has the haunted circus aesthetic. They're similar, but they're not the same. Numbers 5 and 6, there's actually several characters from Black Butler that could feasibly be seen as kind of elements of Drossel being integrated into them. The first one I think of, and I hate to say it, but is the Mad Doctor from the circus arc, because he's the one that was quite literally making children's bones into dolls, and some of the imagery was very, very similar to the shit that Drossel was doing. The other character I can think of is Polaris from the current arc, and that's mainly because, while we don't see a lot of Polaris, we definitely see that he kind of acts in a similar way to Drossel. Like, Drossel works for Ash. They're buddies. Kind of. Ash kind of hates him, but Drossel is Ash's puppet, in a way, if Pluto was Angela's bitch, literally, then Drossel is Ash's bitch, metaphorically. But, so Drossel listens to Ash, and that's kind of similar to the way Polaris is kind of obsessed with Lord Sirius and the Undertaker. And I have my own personal theories as to who I think Polaris might be, but this sort of obsessive, secretive, going back to report to Master, going forth, going back, that whole thing, that is very much a very similar role to the one that Drossel plays. So, that's interesting. Number 8, I'm probably going to talk about this a little bit more in my video with Mel. That's right, PocketCon, go subscribe to them. We do collaborations. They are an awesome friend. They make a ton of beautiful videos. This is your sign. Even if you don't subscribe to me and don't have any interest in me and actually hate watching all of my videos waiting for me to say something indicative, go subscribe to them. Yeah, so we have a little bit of a fun theory. So I just want you to just walk with me for a minute, okay? Walk with me. Queen Victoria is turned into a little girl. That's like a part of season 1. And while that might have been the animators not wanting to show the complex emotions of a woman over 30, still, I personally am more stuck up on the how. How did Ash do that? We know Ash is limitedly magical. I mean, he's got the same powers as Sebastian, I guess. But how did he do it? How the fuck did you do that? That's a whole woman, that's a little girl. How did you? Some Baron Kelvin-ass surgery? What the fuck? And that's when it occurred to me. I think Queen Victoria, I think she's a doll. I literally just think that that's part of the reason that Drossel and Ash ended up so close together. That was the fact that Queen Victoria was literally, her body was remade into the body of a doll. And the reason why it looks so weird when there's that flesh melting and rotting to her, I'm sorry, season 1 is kind of fucking disgusting, but when all that was happening, the reason it was so disturbing was because the areas that were the pieces of her dead husband, ew, 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 were actually not skin. They were like porcelain or, I don't know, clay or some shit. Like, that was not skin. That's because her body, and it's a doll. She's a doll. They made her into a doll. Number 9. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think Drossel has a soul. No, I'm not making that up. They literally say that.
His name was Drossel Kynes. His soul was collected 5 years ago, but we still detected signs of his existence.
He must have been fitted with a transient soul by somebody. His master.
It's really weird. That's got some wild implications. So we're gonna stop the little going down list just for a second and unpack that, because this is the part where Drossel actually kind of breaks Black Butler. All right, excellent. So, okay, I tried to make a chart to better explain myself, but I don't think it's going to be very helpful. So we're just going to hope this makes sense by the time I'm done talking about it. So, okay, the human being has only 3 elements. The soul? Oh, wrong thing. The soul, the record, the body. All of these come together to make the human person. That is a normal human being. Whereas, with bizarre dolls, that's where things get a little bit weird, because, you know, the Undertaker said it himself, you can't put souls into them. That's why they, you know, kill people. It's because they're constantly searching for what they can never have. So it is indicative that bizarre dolls do not have souls. They only have a garbled cinematic record and then a body to lug around with it. And then we're going to go into every other piece of Black Butler properties, just to get to the point of it, get to the root of this. And by that I mean, if it's canon in one thing, I'm going to assume it's canon in another thing. And while some people might assume that's contradiction, I think if you just think about it hard enough, there are no contradictions. Sometimes if a story's power system is so broken, you could just sort of take the pieces and rearrange them into a different picture. So, the cinematic record and the soul. These both can come together to create ghosts, because the cinematic record, it's not actually a physical record. Like, sure, it flutters out of them whenever it's cut and characters see it, but there's no like if you were to crack open someone's head, you aren't going to just see a bunch of records where the brain is supposed to be. It is a intangible thing, about as weird and multidimensional as the concept of a soul. So when something goes into when something sheds its body and becomes only a soul and only a record, it will end up basically becoming a ghost. And ghosts have been shown to exist. And see, there's one thing that very clearly distinguishes when ghosts happen, and that's the fact that the Reapers don't collect their souls. Like, for instance, Edward and Richard died in that castle where God's light could not find them. And I don't really remember what happened to Stella, but I'm hoping and begging nothing in her game happened that contradicts this. But anyway, Reapers don't collect their souls. Or, not souls, the Reapers don't collect their soul records. Because see, the Reaper's job is to go in and sever the soul and end the record. They're the reasons that people live and die. And if they don't do that, well, the soul obviously can't just stay in the body, so it's going to go free. And once it goes free, oh boy, that's a lot of paperwork. So anyway, ghosts are stuck with cinematic records that won't stop ending, but bodies that just aren't theirs anymore, and souls that are just lost in some kind of ether. And so that's why I think it's important that ghosts seek closure, because perhaps maybe there's a fail-safe that if the Reapers can't save them, then, maybe they're able to end their own cinematic records if they just reach a proper cinematic finale. Anyway, so ghosts can be actually put in items. We found this out in Season 2 when Ciel's soul record was removed from his body by Claude and stuck in his ring. And then later on, Aloise's soul record, that's what I'm saying, to combine soul and record together in the context of ghosts, that's something that happened to Aloise during, Season 2, after he died. So soul records can be put in things. These things can be rings. These things can also be dolls, because a doll is technically an item. It's an intangible. Well, it's a body, but not a body. It's not flesh and blood, but it's basically functions kind of like Alphonse Elric type thing. Like, you can slap a soul in there, and since it's humanoid shaped, it will move around. But isn't that wild? Like, in all of Black Butler, we've been told that the reason that bizarre dolls don't work is because they don't have souls. And now we're saying that there actually is a very roundabout method of actually taking a soul that exists, that's loose and without a body and without a corporal form, and putting it into something. Feasibly, you could put it into a bizarre doll, but as this part in the story, bizarre dolls hadn't been invented yet, their tangible body was not one made of flesh and blood, but rather one made of sticks and stone and clay and iron and steel and gold and silver and whatever. So anyway, that's how we got Drossel. He technically has a body, he technically has a soul, but because we know a Reaper actually went down and, cut the soul out of him and cut his contract, we know he's on record. So that's part of what Ash meant when Ash said that, his head is full of straw. His head is full of straw and sawdust. He doesn't have a cinematic record. He's not human. He doesn't understand. He's a ghost puppeting a vessel. And that ghost isn't of himself. Because, see, here's where things get kind of weird. I mean, they were already really weird, but here's where they get even more weird. Because, think about it this way. The ghosts have their identities. They have their cinematic record souls. They know who they are. They know this is Edward and this is Stella and that little guy was Richard and whatnot. They know what they are. But if you just take that and you put it into a different vessel and you give the vessel a different identity, or rather, you take a soul with a specific identity and then force it into a vessel with a different identity, like if you were to say just, play God and say you have Drossel's body, but you need a soul to power it, so you just grab Stella's soul. Like, that's gonna be weird, because Stella is not Drossel. So you know how they do it? They go into the cinematic records and they give them a soft reboot, basically. So you've got the soul, operating them, giving them power, making them move, making them do things, making them, not want to fucking eat everyone. But then you also have the cinematic record guiding them on who they are, and then a body to puppet. You're basically making a fucking homunculus. And now you're probably wondering, why didn't The Undertaker do that? And that's because of a very important amount of lore that we need to think about when it comes to these creatures. See, every single one of the supernatural creatures in Black Butler can do something weird involving the soul record body paradox. So the Reapers can snip the record and the soul, and the demons can devour the soul. But the angels can corrupt the record. See, as the perfect middleman, the Reapers are able to weigh judgment on the soul and the record. The demons are able to steal away the soul, and the angels are capable of stealing away the record. So, and this isn't just me making stuff up, because I think, as we all remember from the Cole arc, that was the whole point of Angela's scene where she was just brainwashing CL. She was going into his record and messing with his memories. And if you have something that can so divinely destroy someone's perception of their reality, then of course Stella can become Drossel, Edward can become a doll, and these dolls with souls that don't match who they are, or rather, these souls fit into bodies with, no true will of their own, puppeted by records and code that just doesn't work. This can happen. It's like, okay, I'm gonna make a terrible example. You guys know character AI? Does anyone know character AI? Okay, character AI. So you can put anything you want in a character AI's profile picture. And, you can also put anything you want in, like, the personality description, and then the machine operated on stolen fan fiction and whatever the fuck, I don't know, it's AI bad, but whatever it's doing, you can put the profile picture there, you could write up what the personality is, but the true deciding factor of the character AI is what you do in the memory bank. See, there's this huge section, and the best way that you can make a character AI do something is if you just give it examples of what it would do by putting them all in this memory bank. So basically we have the body, the soul, and the cinematic record. And by altering the cinematic record in the way that the angels are capable of, oh boy, reality can be whatever you want it to be. Am I making sense? I really hope that made sense, but you can kind of feel like why I gave the thing such a clickbaity title. Black Butler's reality is very much crumbling at the seams, and I feel like, if I was there, I would definitely be, like, getting tortured for my intel right now. Like, if the Undertaker knew about this little ghost trick, oh man, he would be onto it. He might already be onto it. I don't know what's going on in the current arcs. We could be leading up to anything. We're definitely exploring some more, stuff's happening. I might either be proven completely wrong, or I might be proven completely correct, or I might just not be contradicted, so I'll just make my corkboard infinitely more complicated to, assuage that. So, number 10 on my list of my, what the fuck happened. What the fuck happened to Elizabeth? She's a human for the rest of this series. And, like, she was a doll. He literally made her a doll. He literally made her a doll. And did the power of true love fix her? Is this fucking Pinocchio? No. See, through my chart, I found a solution. So, okay, when Drossel's first making her into a doll, we see this scene of her laying in his little doll workshop. And, he's undoing her coat. He's basically going to take her clothes and put them on her doll self, because that's where her consciousness goes. So, we don't exactly see him dispose of the body. So, it's probably pretty obvious that what he did was he made an exact replica of her, stuck her soul in there, backed away, they all fought the Lizzie Avatar doll thing, and then as soon as, like, the dust and sawdust cleared and Ciel was done getting, like, a panic attack from that weird little fucking, I didn't explain this thing, but it's there, but, yeah, as soon as, everything calms down, they're done with that. I bet Ciel probably, pointed at Lizzie's doll self and just went, Sebastian, fix this. Or, he wouldn't have sounded like that, but, maybe he would have. It was a very long day. And Sebastian just would have taken her, little doll body, and then he would have, found her actual human corpse in the doll room, and then he just would have, done, like, we know demons have the capacity of detaching souls and then reattaching souls. We saw it of Claude, and we saw it of Hannah, so he probably just ripped the soul out of the Elizabeth doll, put it back into the human form, and they all met outside like nothing happened. And then Ciel was like, hey, wasn't she made of wood? Like, 5 minutes ago, Sebastian would be like, oh, something went hell but butler. I managed to fix that. Like, as if this wasn't the most traumatizing thing a 13-year-old girl could go through. But yeah, no, so she's fine. She's fine. Well, now we got that out of the way. We got the episode summary. We got the little list of things I forgot. Now let's get into the fun fanfic zone, I guess. The main reason I wanted to talk about this was just because of how, like, cool it is. Because I noticed something. There is little to no love for Ash and Angela. There is little to no love for Pluto. There's no love for Edward and Richard. So there's almost no love for anyone in season 1. Except Drossel. People like him. He's just, he's an interesting character. He's hopelessly devoted to Ash. They've got some weird toxic yaoi going on. Here's the thing, little medal of honor I'm gonna give Drossel. He is the one character whose thing involves kidnapping, and it is not a weird sex thing. That's an extremely low bar, but most Black Butler villains, and I mean like a significant amount of Black Butler villains, have this as their go-to, and he's the one that just, isn't included in the sex offender shuffle. I saw this official art that Yana made of him and Lizzie, and it kind of got me thinking that, I feel like he's an interesting parallel to her in the sense that he's sort of the extreme of what she could have been, in the sense that, she's always tried to build herself up, tried to be perfect and pretty and innocent and everything, whereas she's actually, made of tougher stuff. She's, a swordswoman. She's freaking badass, but she's, forcing herself to be small for the sake of her fiancé. And Drossel is quite literally someone who has been forced into playing a specific role, playing the specific puppet, and he helps others become these perfect little puppets. And, every single cute Black Butler child character is not complete without some weird adult hanging around them. We found Lizzie's. It definitely wasn't going to be Paula because she's way too normal. No, but like that would have been so good. I mean, just the whole idea of it being an arc where like instead of, fucking killing him, they sort of redeem him. I don't know. I think Lizzie having like a little friend who's a weird, bizarre doll would be so cute. And here's the thing, she's still with, real CL in the manga, and Polaris is there, and like I said, Polaris is a little bit like Drossel, so hey, maybe we can't rule this out. Maybe this could still happen. I don't know. I've got a lot of projects. Someone please write this for me. This probably should have been in the numerical list, but I think it's also kind of interesting that Pluto is like dead set on just murdering those dolls. I think it's super interesting, just the whole implication that he's a demon, so he eats souls. So when he sees these dolls that have been like, weird soul stuff's been happening to them, it's kind of like a free lunch in a way. Like, I like to imagine that pieces of these girls' souls were attached to every little doll, American Girl doll thing that Drossel made, and that, Pluto, whenever he just sort of attacked one, everyone was like, nah, Pluto, stop doing that. He was actually devouring the souls of them. I think that's fun. I think he deserves a little treat. Also, Drossel's in a band, and he's like really in a band. Like, Yana made him in a band for the season 2 OVA, the actor's OVA, and I think that was cute since he's like a puppet master, he's a little musical. But then she just kept drawing him in band garb, so I think she just is having too much fun. So I did not get the chance to mention the weird fucking masks. I think those are just lost souls that they just stapled onto them. So yeah, going back to the soul thing, it's super interesting, the idea that souls actually can be put into bodies. It's iffy, it's weird. Undertaker is not an angel, so he can't mess with the cinematic records. So putting something that, like, feasibly would have its own baggage attached to something else and making it incapable of being manipulated, like, that's weird. That's difficult. And it's not like it could ever work with Real CL, because Real CL's soul is gone. It got ate. Oh, Drossel. Rest in peace. 5 years before the story began. Hi! Hi, thank you so much for watching this one. It was really fun to make. It's nice just rambling about these guys and also making overly complicated charts about them. It really makes my autism go to its happy place. In the meantime, I'm gonna be working on a few more characters. I think I might do a poll. I might see who would be the spiritual successor. One thing I realized was even if I make these, sometimes I don't actually tell people what I think of the character. I just make the video and then somehow expect them to think it. So just to set the record straight, I like Drossel. I had a great time looking up stuff about him. I combed through a bunch of old Ask blogs. I met some very nice people. And I just, Drossel stands, they're good. They're good. He might be a little bit of a weirdo who kidnaps children, but the people who like him are not that. In the meantime, keep an eye on PocketCon and I's video. We're collaborating, and I also got to do a bit of a collaboration with Ghosty Olive. So, yeah, I am making waves in the Black Butler video essay scene, I guess. Anyway, thank you. Yeah. Also, I'm sorry for the clickbaity title. I mean, he might not have broken Black Butler, but it definitely broke me for like 3 hours while I was trying to figure out how exactly he broke Black Butler.